Hi, I'm Bill and I'm with Bolt Gutter Guards. We're here at the Bolt factory, as you can see behind me. This is where the Bolt is manufactured here in Loomis, California.
Action.
What sets Bolt apart from other gutter guards is two things. Its high-flow louver frame system, as well as its raised Z-screen. The Z-screen is raised to slow the water down as well as to lift debris so it comes off. Now, in order to cut bolt, there's two ways to do that. We can go ahead and use tin snips, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, and also a chop saw, which I think is preferred, and you'll see why in a few minutes. The only thing about a chop saw is that you need to have a good blade, and so what I use is a 12-inch saw with a 96 blade, this carbide tip blade. You can do it with a 10-inch and probably down to maybe about 45 teeth. But the trick about this is you need to put the saw blade on backwards so the teeth cut it backwards, not forward. That way it doesn't capture and grab the louvers. And we're going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to go ahead and put this saw blade on this saw, and we're going to go ahead and cut. Okay, I got my blade on and I have it on backwards. So as you can see, it spins this way so the teeth don't grab. Right. The reason why that's important is because when it grabs and pulls these louvers, it tends to pull the product off the saw. When you put the blade on backwards, it cuts right through it. So we're going to demonstrate that now. So we're going to go ahead and make a straight cut. I'm going to show you how that happens. Now what's important is to go ahead and have the wing closest to the back of the saw. Put my safety glasses on, and I'm good to go. There you go, a nice clean cut. You see how nice that works. Now let's go ahead and do an angled cut. Let's say you're going to do a 45-degree either for an inside or an outside miter. What's nice about the Bolt product lines is that you can order these pre-cut from the factory and it doesn't cost you anything extra. So we recommend you do that. It makes the job faster and easier, but if you want to do this on the job site, you certainly can. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this on a 45. A nice cut. Look how well those louvers stay intact. So when you put the saw blade on backwards, this is how you do that. We highly recommend you spend about $150 to $200 on a saw. Get a nice saw blade for about 50 bucks. Carry that with you and you're good to go. Now that I showed you how to cut bolt with the saw, let's go ahead and show you how to do it by hand. But I was going to show you these from the factory. This is how it would arrive from you if you pre-ordered it from the factory, either with an inside or an outside miter. This is an outside miter. Comes pre-cut at a 45 with a little cover piece right here. So you would snip that and put that on there. Highly recommend you order that from us that way. But if not, let's go ahead and show you how to cut this off. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show you how to cut it by hand. I got a full piece. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line where I want to get it cut. I'm going to use two types of snips. The Weiss tin snips, which is a bull nose, has a lot more torque in the front, and a larger one for the main. I'm going to go ahead and cut the front, underneath, and all the way through. Spin it around. Making sure I grab the underneath frame. Now I have to switch to the bull nose because it gives me a lot more torque for this back here. Cut underneath it. Go back to the regulars. That Weiss really allows you to get through. Go ahead and cut through. So pretty easy once you get the neck of it. Pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Now let's go ahead and do a more difficult cut on an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this product on an angle. I'm going to make my line. I'm going to go ahead and use the front again. Spin her around. Again, cutting from the bottom, then tagging it back from the back. Then when you're cutting on an angle, you then come in and you trim the louvers one by one. Then let's finish up by cutting a screen. And there we have our nice cut. And again, when you go on an inside or an outside miter, you always have this little cover piece here. I usually just trim it, tuck it in there, covers it when you have two separate pieces. So that's how you cut bolt, both with the tin snips as well as with the saw blade. Thank you. Okay, now that we cut through on an angle, we now learned how to cut with the saw blade as well as with our tin snips. If you follow those procedures, just cutting the front, cutting the back, then cutting the louvers, you'll be just fine. All right, thank you, and you can always catch more at www.boltgg.com. That'll work. Okay. Chris is back.